What's good, everyone? Welcome back to Twisted Barbell. I'm Marcus. So I started this series with about 8 weeks left to my competition on November 11th. This will be my second meet this year, the first one being in March. And I'm looking forward to this next one since training has been going pretty well all around. And I genuinely attribute a lot of that success to the use of Evolve AI. Now, it's been about 10 months since I've been using Evolve AI, since December of last year. So I did use it for my first competition back in March. And I'm happy with the way things have been going since that competition went well, and I continue to make a lot of gains using this program. So I do definitely recommend it wholeheartedly. So a lot of this series is going to be based on not only my training, but the integration of Evolve AI in that training. I'll try to refrain from boring you with all the details of all the accessory movements and try to keep it to mostly the basic compound movements that are driving this training, as that is what's going to be tested in the meet and competition, except where I feel the accessory movement has contributed to my gains, like with the pendlay rows and these leg raises. So pendlay rows have really helped to strengthen my back. I also like the seal rows, but it's a little bit more of a hassle to set up with the utility seat, so I'll stick with pendlays until after the competition. Now, a few of you have asked about my shoulder rehab work, so I figured I'd include some of that here. So feel free to skip these sections if you have no interest in this. But there is an extensive list of exercises that I do as part of this shoulder rehab work, all of which are designed to prime and build up the surrounding muscles and tissues of the shoulder. And the first one I'm demonstrating here are Cuban presses, which focuses on external rotation of the shoulder, along with the pressing movement. Now, these have definitely benefited me probably the most of all of these rehab exercises, and I do them every day before bench session. The key observer would note the limited range of motion of these presses, but here I'm only mimicking floor presses, so I'm not going down as far as I typically do. In the picture-in-picture, I'm working with a band to do band pulls. Start with the typical band pull in front of the face, and I do that for about 20 repetitions, and then I go through a variety of different band pulls behind the head and neck, including external rotation down to my waistline. And then I also do a couple of band pulls over each shoulder to engage just that specific shoulder the most. Now, bench has been going very well considering all of the rehab work that I've been doing, so I'm grateful that it has been paying off. And typically my bench has been suffering a lot of pain in my shoulder, but that hasn't really been a factor in this whole training cycle since my last meet. So in order to really benefit from these Cuban presses, I incorporated them as one of my shoulder exercise choices from Evolve AI, where so far I'm doubling the weight from rehab from 5 pounds to 10 pounds here. And I'm using plates instead of my Bowflex dumbbells because even at 10 pounds, they're too long to pass next to my leg easily. Now, this next rehab exercise is another band pull variation, single arm, and this is also focusing on the external rotation. And it's obvious this isn't in my gym. This is actually my office, where I can take advantage of some downtime between meetings and work to get in some of this rehab work. And I'm really only just scratching the surface here. Now, another tried and true back exercise that I've chosen to stick with on a second day for back work is the low row, which I feel benefits me greatly in enabling me to keep my upper back tight and preventing my shoulders from rounding at the initiation of a deadlift. Speaking of deadlifts, this continues to be my best lift overall, where I feel I'm gaining the most from block to block and from cycle to cycle. Here I'm doing my top set of 355 by 3, and I chose to do a complete reset between each repetition so that I can truly benefit from this exercise. Now, even though deadlifts have been going extremely well, they still tax my body the most, and my recovery is rather slow because I'm feeling these even throughout the entire weekend. This being the last set of the day, you'll see I'll cheat on my absolute last repetition here and bounce rather than reset, followed by pause squats, but thankfully at a lower weight. And due to the lower weight, I try to get the pause squats done without the benefit of knee sleeves. Now, a couple of blocks ago, I switched from banded good mornings to pull-throughs because I feel like this more readily mimics the lockout movement for deadlifts, and I feel like this has definitely benefited me even at a lower 80 pounds. Back to some rehab work, where this one specifically targets some previous elbow pain I had in my right elbow. This is a very good exercise, and here you'll see the right arm twitch right there as it ends up losing tension due to some pain. If you're experiencing tendonitis type pain in the elbow, I definitely recommend this for those types of issues. Now, another band pull exercise for external rotation is this here, where the band is just wrapped around your wrists and you're trying to spread your hands apart while keeping your elbows at your side. This is really good for that external rotation. I incorporate a few repetitions of this with my exercises. Now, the real nitty gritty of shoulder rehab work that I do is right before getting into a heavy bench session. And it's a series of shoulder exercises, starting with this here, where your upper arms are in a Y shape at roughly 11 and 1 o'clock. And I go for about 20 repetitions, where I try to start out with a slow hold before moving on to a rapid pulsating movement. This is the same thing basically, but keeping your elbows bent at 90 degrees. And again, I try to go for 20 repetitions or so. Now you might see I keep a foam roller underneath my collarbone and chin to kind of help with stabilization and keep my face directly off the floor, but you can do it without that as well. Now the third exercise in the series is keeping your arms directly out at your sides, again going for 20 repetitions. The fourth one is hands down at your sides with palms facing down, and this is to engage the rear delts and your lats, again 20 repetitions. And then you reverse that grip to palms facing up, going for 15 to 20 repetitions. By this time, your shoulders, your delts, they're all burning. A final exercise in the sequence I call around the whirls, where you start with your hands and weights on your lower back and then simply rotate 360 degrees overhead, bringing them back while rotating your hands palm down to palm up. And I do this for 3 to 5 repetitions depending on how good I feel that day. Now, if all has gone well with these exercises, I might also add a couple of repetitions of iso hold push-ups to really gauge where my shoulder is on that particular day. If I'm still feeling pain, by this point, I know I might have to do a little bit more rehab to get into my bench session without pain. Finally, I'll finish off with a couple of dynamic stretches or yoga poses like downward facing dog, just to really get some overhead external rotation. Now, I realize that is a lot of rehab work, but trust me, it is all worth it. And as you can tell by my ease of movement with the bench press, where I'm able to retain some good tightness and I'm making gains with the actual strength, like this set of 235 for 4, no problems, no pain, no issues at all. So it's definitely worth it. Now, lat pull downs are another great exercise I feel benefits my deadlift by strengthening the lats and helping me to engage those lats and keep that tightness when I'm creating a wedge. Now here, tricep pull downs you shouldn't neglect, because obviously the triceps play a huge role in supporting your bench press. And make sure I do not neglect at all. And I really enjoy supersetting those with bicep curls for efficiency's sake and keeping the timing of my training sessions down. Now, though deadlifts have been my overall best lift, I really can't complain about how squats are going, because I have been making gains there too, and I'm feeling much more comfortable under the bar and the weight. My last PR at the Garage Gym competition back in May was 375, and that moved pretty well. My last rep max sets targets my single rep PR at about 400 pounds, so I'm pretty excited about that, and hopefully that'll be an easy target to hit on competition day. Now finally, another great exercise that the Evolve AI allows you to choose from are dumbbell RDLs, which are an obvious contributor to deadlifts with that hamstring and glute stretch. And this is something I try to get in with some heavy weights. So I have 75-pound dumbbells for a total of 150. And that'll pretty much wrap this week's session up. But I look forward to following through with another session next week. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.